Hello everyone, welcome to FOC class 12. This video is part 15 of Fundamentals of Java Programming for class 12 IT code 802. So students, today we are going to cover the two topics, access modifiers and getter and setter methods. We have already completed the topic constructors in our previous video, and in this video we will be completing these two topics. So let's start with the first topic of the day, access modifiers. Before we know about access modifiers, let us recall a concept from the previous video. As we had discussed an example of book class and book test class, so in this we had accessed the data members of one class from another class. Means there were data members which were present in book class and we were accessing them using the book test class. In the book test class you can see here we have used the data members which were mentioned in the book class. These all data members that you can see here, we had used them in book class, and now we are accessing them from the book class in book test class. So this is how by default we can access the data members of some another class by some other class. But it is generally not good programming practice. Why? Because if we allow the objects to change their data members arbitrarily, then it will have two effects. First of all, it will make the debugging harder. If we want to debug our code, then it will be harder for us. And also there will be security issues with the code. And the second effect is that we lose control over the values being held in them. Means the data members have some specific values that are held in them, so we will not have any control over them, we will lose the control. So these are the two effects if we are setting the data members as public members. So basically we have already discussed about the concept of public, private, these members in the previous video. In this video, we are basically discussing that what is the effect of public member, private member. So here you can see that if we are setting the data members as public members, so what will happen? The debugging will be harder, there will be security issues with the code, and we will lose the control over the value. So this is the basic effect, and that is why we are not considering it a good programming practice to keep the data members as public. So now I hope you are clear that why we are using the access modifier, as its name is indicating that we are basically controlling the access, that who can access it. We are modifying the access. So that is why we need these access modifiers. Now here we are going to discuss about the private access modifier, and for this you can see in the coding part a change. This coding is somewhat similar to the coding that we had done in our previous class, but there is a big difference. And what is that? Basically here I have added the keyword private before all the data members. Why? Because to make a data member or a method member of a class visible only within the class, we add the keyword private before its declaration. So basically we wanted that these all data members, title, author, publisher, genre, price, all these data members should only be visible within the class book, where we are declaring them, where we are doing the declaration of the data members. So for this, what we have to do, we have to add the keyword private. And why? Because we will set these data members as private by adding this keyword private. So that is why before each data member declaration we have added private, and after this you will be able to notice that all these data members are only visible inside the class book and not any other class of the package. So let us learn the difference between the private and the public member through an example. So in our previous slide, we had set the data members as private by adding the keyword private. So here you can see that when in the book test class, which is another class. So when we type book1 dot means we want to access some data members and method members, then in that case you can clearly see that no data member of book class is being displayed here because we had added the keyword private before them. Before the 5 data members of the book class, we had added the keyword private, and that is why they are not being displayed here. Why? Because they have been set as private. So that is why no other class except the book class in which they are declared. So no other class would be able to access them, and this is the use of declaring the data members as private. And if we talk about the public member, so what is the difference? A public member of the class has visibility both within and outside the class. By default, all members of a class are public. Here you can see the example. This display method basically belongs to the book class. And why is it being displayed here? Because we had not added that keyword private to it. This member is public. And why it is public? Because by default all members of a class are public. So by default it was public, and we have not changed that. That is why it is being displayed here, whereas the data members which we had set as private in the book class, those data members are not being displayed in this list because they are private. Now, we have discussed that private members of a class cannot be accessed outside the class. But is it necessary that if they are not accessible, then you cannot have any control? You can give controlled access to data members outside the class. Now, you may be confused that right now I have denied that you cannot access them, and right now I am saying that you can give controlled access. So you can read carefully. I have mentioned here controlled access, and here what I have said cannot be accessed. So basically the basic difference here I am talking about is, here we are having controlled access, means whatever access we are giving, that access is under the control, and it will be not fully accessed. It will be accessed only to some limit. So let us see how will we doing this. We will be using the getter and setter method for giving controlled access to data members outside the class. So I hope you are clear with this. Let me repeat if you are confused. Basically, if we declare any member as private, then we cannot access this member from outside the class. If we have declared any member in a class and we want that it should be private, so we add the keyword private. But after it, if we want that in some other class we can access this member, so it is not possible. But we can give some controlled access, means access to some limit to data members outside the class, means even if they are private, we can have the controlled access by using this getter and setter methods. And if the concept is not yet clear to you, we will understand now through an example, so it will be clear to you. So we are proceeding to our next topic, getter and setter methods. First of all, let us discuss about getter method. A getter method returns the value of a data member. As we have already studied about the concept of getter method in the beginning also, that it is used to retrieve something. Means if we want to get something, if we want to retrieve something, some value, then in that case we use the getter method. It returns the value of a data member. For example, we could define a getter method in the book class for the price data member as given below. So here in the book class in which we have done the declaration of the data members and we had added the keyword private. So in the same class we have to do this coding where we are using the getter method. And why are we using it? We want that we should define a getter method in the book class for the price data member. Means we know that there was a data member price, so we want to define a getter method for it. That is why we are writing this coding. So here in this, first of all we have written the type, data type, that this data type should be there, and after it we have used the getter method. Then here you can see we have also used the keyword return because we want a return type value, so that is why we have used it. So this was the getter method. Now let us discuss about the setter method. We will be defining the setter method and also we will be controlling how the price is set. We will be basically talking about the controlled access. So here we do not allow a book price to become lower than 100. This is the condition that we are providing, that no book price should be allowed less than 100. So for this we will be using the if else statement, and let us see how we have done it. First of all, we have used the setter method for the price data member, and also here we have given double new price. Basically this new price is the value what will be the price of the book, and on the basis of this value it will be decided that whether it is acceptable or not. So here we have provided the condition for the same using the if else statement. Here you can see we have used the if else statement. We have used if and then condition. What is the condition? New price less than 100 means this value, if it is less than 100, then a statement will be printed that price cannot be set lower than 100. And if the new price is greater than or equal to 100, then in that case price will be equal to new price, means in that case it will be acceptable. But if it is not greater than or equal to 100, means it is less than 100, then in that case this value will not be acceptable and instead a statement would be printed. So this is how we have given the controlled access using the setter method. Now, in the book test class, the getter and setter methods can be used to retrieve and set a new price for a book. We are basically discussing about the price data member. So in the book test class, how will we using it? We will be using it by the getter and setter method. The getter method will be used to retrieve or get the value, and the setter method will set a new price for a book. So if the book test class wants to discount the price of the book 1 object by 20%, so here you can see that there is a condition that the book test class wants to apply some condition. Means the book test class in which the data members are not declared, means the private data members are not available here. So how will the book test class access them and apply the condition of discount? So for this, the book test class will be using this getter and setter method for this condition. First, get the book's price using the getPrice method. Use the price to determine a discounted price for the book. So what we'll be first of all doing, we will be using the getter method. Getter method for what? For getting the book price, to retrieve the book price. And then why we are using it, why we are using the getter method, why do we want that we should get the value of book price? We want this price to determine a discounted price for the book, because if we want to know the discounted price, so first of all we have to know the original price. So that is why we have to obtain the value of price, and which is why we are using the get price method. Then use the set price method. And why? because we have to change the price of the book, because here we have given or we have retrieved the value of the original price. So now we want the value of the discounted price. So how will we get it? We will get it by the set price method, by the setter method. So first of all, we will be using the getter method and then the setter method. So I hope this was clear to you. Now let us see how will we be using it, the getter method and setter method in the book test class. Here is the statement book1.display. As we are talking about book1 object, so it is written here, and this display method member is written because it is a public member and not a private member. So that is why we are able to access it even in the book test class. After it, we are declaring a variable book price. And why are we declaring it? Because here we want a new kind of price which would act like discounted price. So for this, we have declared this along with its data type double. Then we are going to retrieve the value using the getter method. So here we are using the getter method to retrieve the value of price data member from the book class, and for which object? For book 1 object. So that is why we are using it here. And then you can see in the next statement we have given the formula for book price. This statement is basically indicating that how the discounted price will be calculated. We have to give a specific formula for the discounted price, so this is that formula. After it, we are having book1 dot set price book price. So in this statement we are using the setter method, and what we are setting? We are setting the value of price. And what will be that value? That value will be the book price. Means from here, from the book class, we will retrieve the value, and this value will be equal to this book price. After it, the price will be recalculated because we have to give a discount of 20%. So that is why we will be using this formula. And after using this formula, the value we will get, that value will be the actual discounted price that you can see here. So now let us see the whole coding. This is the coding that you have to do in the book test class. This part of coding we have already discussed in our previous video. In this part of coding that we have just discussed, we are using the getter method and the setter method for accessing the price data member from the book class, which is private data member. The price data member belongs to book class and it is a private member. That is why we have to use the getter and setter method. Also, I have added the statement for printing, and for this I have used system.out.println statement. In this I have written two statements, and you can see at last I have used book1 dot get price. Why? Because I want to get, or I want to retrieve the value of price. So that is why I have used this getter method here also. So let us see what will be the value of book one's price. It will be set to 360. But why? Let us understand it. As we have just seen the coding of book test class, in it you would see that the value of price is set to be 450. Now, I have already told you that this is the formula that we are going to use for calculating the discounted price, and ultimately here the discounted price will be displayed. So that is why it will be displayed as 360, because when this value 450 is put in this formula, then the value comes out to be 360. You can calculate it. So what we are basically doing, we are changing the actual value to the discounted value by applying this formula. However, if a discount caused a book object's price to fall below 100, the setter method would not change the price. Now we were talking about the controlled access. So here we are discussing that how the controlled access is given and what is the use of it. So basically here you can see that if the discounted price would be less than 100, so in that case what would happen, the setter method would not change the price, means the price would not be changed. Why? Because the discounted price was less than 100 and this condition would be changed in this case. Without a controlled setter function, the book test class could have changed the book's price arbitrarily. Means if we were not having a controlled setter function. Why controlled setter function? Because we had given the if else condition in the setter method only. So that is why we are saying that it is a controlled setter function. So if we did not have any control setter function, means we had not used any conditions there in the book class setter method. So what would happen? The book test class could change the book's price, means whatever price the book test class wanted it could change. But now because there is a control setter function, there is a controlled setter method, so that is why the book test class cannot change it arbitrarily, and only there is a controlled access, means the value can be changed only to a specific limit, and after that limit the setter method would not change the price. So I hope this coding was clear to you. Now let us see the output. So this is the output of book test class. First of all, here you can see that the value of various data members is being displayed here. Why? Because we had used the statement book1.display. And the display method member was used to display the details, so that is why all the details are being displayed here. After that we had used the statement system.out.println, and you can see here that the statement is printed book price discounted by 20%, and after it we are also having the statement new price is, and this value 360, which is the discounted price, it is being written here because using that formula of discount we have calculated this, and because this value is more than 100, means it is satisfying the condition of the setter method, so that is why using the controlled access the book test class is able to change the price of book. So I hope all this coding was clear to you. Thank you. That was all for today. If you still have any doubt anywhere, so you can ask me in the comment box or on the Telegram app. We'll meet you soon in the next video. Till then, bye bye.